Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're getting a chance to sit down with Huron BJJ brown belt and head instructor and owner Shaun Garrity. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast. If you're looking for all the great breakdowns, podcasts, all the guest episodes, and all the hot takes that we have coming up, make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, and you're going to get everything that you got coming down the pipeline. Support for the Choking Hazard podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped has just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You've heard that right, the 4.0. Join 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. This exclusive offer for you with 20% off with free worldwide shipping with CH Podcast. So use that code at manscaped.com. Remember, that's CH Podcast. Now let me tell you one thing. This sleek engineered design of the 4.0 is a great idea. It's got wireless charging, which is great. It's skin-safe technology, and he's got a light on it. It was a great experience. It's a perfect product. And then one thing I tell you, I've used it personally. I wouldn't tell you guys if it was a bad product if I didn't try it myself. As I tried it, like I said, it was great. I can use it as a body trimmer or I can use it as a nut trimmer. So you got your choices. Keep everybody happy. Whether your wife, your girlfriend, they're going to enjoy the experience. So remember, imagine shaving with that sleek, well-designed, optimized trimmer that makes your shaving time the favorite time in the bathroom. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code CHPodcast at manscaped.com. That's 20% off. Free shipping at manscaped.com. Use this code, CHPodcast, and unlock your confidence and always use the right tools with the right job for Manscaped. Your balls are going to thank you.
You're on BJJ today. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody here? How long you've been doing jiu-jitsu for? And just, what you've been up to with COVID in the last year and a half?
Okay, so I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 9 years. I'm a brown belt. I just received my brown belt from George Brito.
Yep, we just saw that. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. 3 weeks ago. So you know your gym's going hard when you're getting brown belts in the lockdown, right? But
that was a 100% legal promotion for the record for anybody listening. You cannot confirm or deny that you got your brown belt during a lockdown.
Yes, of course. But so I've been doing this for 9 years. I started at MTC in Windsor. Started kickboxing, got shin on shin. Didn't like that. So I said, I'm just going to stick with this jiu-jitsu. We moved out from Windsor to here for a journalism job. I lost my journalism job. Long story short, I was a blue belt, started this gym, and we've been open for 5 years now in April, 5 years in April. Started off with 13 mats, got 100 students, a couple of provincial champions. I won an IBJJF Toronto. I won many purple belts, local tournaments. And so with COVID, right now, we are just in the midst of trying to get to the States. That's what our team's trying to do right now because no one's really doing it. They're doing it single-handedly, like Nate, Mosley, and all them guys. They're going out singly. And I would say my boy Dianis from DNA, he's had a few. But really, you're not having these guys in Canada that are coming to the States to just come. And our whole goal since COVID is all right, if this COVID stuff happens again, what are we going to do? Are we going to sit around looking for local tournaments? No. So our whole goal right now is just to get, I'm in the midst of doing all the border stuff and getting across the border, getting all my immigration papers and all that. It's going to take a little while, but that's the whole goal right now with COVID is to try to get a team out there and show everybody that this little town of Godrich knows what's up. And that's the plan.
We are also sponsored by Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. If you're looking for Canada's top THC and CBD products, look no further than Alex and his team at Spirit Leaf Waterdown. Remember, you're going to type in the code CH Podcast when you go visit them, and you're going to get your discount every single time. So remember, Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. So you kind of mentioned like you started like training as a blue belt. You started up in an academy as a blue belt because we just had Jordan up on the podcast just last week, and he was telling like, yeah, I started as a blue belt as an academy owner. So like obviously like being a blue belt, that's a big task as an academy owner plus a teacher, right? To kind of build off that. Like, did you kind of feel like any resistance from the community or individuals of like starting a club at all? Or like, how was your experience going about it?
Oh yeah. I had, there's a local dojo, I guess. They're a little choked that we opened under a lot of, because they have black belts. Mm-hmm. I get black belts in like 4 years, 3 years, and they're like, yeah, why is this guy teaching? And yeah, we had a few of those, but what are you going to do if you're like, to those people that are like, you're a blue belt, what else am I going to do? I live in Goderich. I had to train in Stratford, I had to go to London. It's like, I had to build something here, and you got to start somewhere, right? But yeah, we had a lot of people saying, oh, this guy's a blue belt. And I had a few guys where I make up moves. I do. It's funny, like, you know, when you say like, what's this guy doing? Is he at the club making moves up? I actually am. We are. Maybe people have done it before me, a little different, but yeah, that was a big thing being a blue belt. It was annoying, but whatever, that's what you got to do. And now I'm a brown belt. So what are you going to say now?
So how did you get the connection to like, you know, because you were under the Jiu-Jitsu for Life team, George Burrito, you just got your brown belt from him recently. Like, how did that connection happen? Like you mentioned a few places, like you went to train, like, you know, you're a blue belt, you started your own school, but like you're training at some other places as well. So like, how did that connection begin? And like, you know, like how did you end up like training in Stratford, London? Like, how's that all?
So I lived in Windsor, and I always wanted to do jiu-jitsu, and I said it for like 4 years, and I was a little older, like 25, 26. And my wife said, well, there's MTC. You've been saying it for 3 years. So finally, I just walked in the door. Yeah, I walked in the door.
Wife called you out. You're just like, hey, you've been saying you want to be a tough guy for like 3 years. Why don't you go down to the academy there, you pussy?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I was like, all right, screw it. So I walked in there, got the shit kicked out of me, loved it, got a shin on shin, like I said, and just been going from there. And George Reno is one of the owners of MTC. And George, I believe, came to Canada. And when he came, Reno started being his MMA coach. So that was the connection with George and me. So George started grading us. I started no gi, and then they're like, yo, we're doing gi now. This George guy's coming. And I remember like it was yesterday when I first met this guy. We were doing no gi, and some guy was talking to me. And George is like, hey, no talking. And I was like, who the hell is that crazy Brazilian with fucked up ears, man? Like, I'm like, and then the kid tried to talk to me again. Like 5 minutes later, I'm like, bro, that fucking guy yells at me again, I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, stop talking to me, man. Like, you know? So the connection was MTC I'm pretty sure Reno was his MMA coach. And then he came down to grade a few people, and then it just worked from there. And then I moved out here to Seaforth for a journalism job, started training in Stratford. I got my blue belt. I was a white belt for 3.5 years. So Ryan O'Shea's like, all right, man, here's a blue belt after like training for 3-4 months with him. And then I just, I lost my job. When I came out here, I wasn't even doing jiu-jitsu that much. Like I didn't even train for like, I don't even know, like 4 months. Just this, I don't know what happened. I think I quit drinking the alcohol. Like I didn't party that much, but I just removed it. And then I said, no, let's do this. Lost the job. And then it was, let's just take this road and go with it. And now I don't have a job, and this jiu-jitsu is my job, and I train all over the place. Before lockdown happened, I was traveling to Toronto BJJ once a week. I think I was driving 12 hours. I used to, or what was it? 20 hours. No, it was 20 hours of driving in a week, 25 hours of just driving in a week just to get to these places. And then
that's a bit of a trek, like from Goderich to like to Toronto BJJ, like downtown Toronto. Like what is that's like a 3 hour one way or both ways?
3 hour that way, 3 hour that way.
Oh man.
We're talking 6 hours just in that week. And then I'm driving to Stratford, 1 there. So 2 hours there, and I'm doing that 3-4 times a week. So now we're at 8. We're at like 14 to 20 hours a week. I'm sitting there just driving. But that's what you got to do, though. You gotta, if like Nikki, Ryan, and Gary used to drive from, I can't remember where it was, but I'm pretty sure they would drive a part of Manhattan and go all the way to New York, 3 hours to get there, 3 hours back every single day. So if they can do that, why can't I?
They're going from
because they were going from Jersey all the way up into Manhattan to kind of where they need to go, right? So like, and again, it depends. It's like anything; it depends on what you want, right? If you want to be, again, good at your sport, you have to go where the craft is going to be the best at, and the best academy within your amenable range of your destination. You're going to have to do that, right? That's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you kind of like look at your students, and then it's like, you give them the breakdown, be like, hey, in order for me to get to here, this is what I did. How did they kind of like react to that? We're like, okay, I got to travel. I can't just stay within an academy. Did they kind of like, feed off that? Or are they kind of like, you know what? I don't have time for that right now. Like, how do you kind of like get that message across?
It's actually overwhelming because I'm the most dedicated person. I'm the one that's doing this, and a lot of people, I got about 10, 15 diehards and 100 other ones that are casuals, that's how jiu-jitsu is. But sorry, can you say that question one more time?
Yeah, they're like,
one more time, Aaron.
What the fuck are you talking about, man? Like how, like obviously you've lived that life. You're driving that. You're making that commitment, right? So if you have a student that's like, wants to drive, how do you put that message across to them? Like, if this is what they want to accomplish, they can't just stay in one location. They have to put in the effort. They have to travel. Like, how do you frame that message to them to make it, or is it just kind of like, just do what I do? This is how I do it. Like,
yeah, I'm a little different. I'm not from here. My kids are born here. Half my kids are born here now, but I'm from Windsor, Ontario. So I come here to a farmland. Shit's a lot different. Like I'm from the projects of Glengarry and Windsor, where there's a lot of
shout out Windsor, Essex.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad shit that happens there, and I've had a different kind of life. So like I just kind of tell them like, yo, this is where I came from, and this is what I'm doing. And like my life was jacked before jiu-jitsu. My parents are dead, drugs. I lived in foster care my whole life. So reality is, the message I'm telling them, no matter what, if you want to get good, you got to fail, and you're going to have to travel to these places to get the shit kicked out of you, and enjoy it every time, because that's the only way you're going to get good. That's it. There's no other way.
Yeah. You got to put in the time, no matter what people say. Like, you got to put in the time. You got to find, the right training partners and all that. And, I think maybe the issue with, where you're at is like, like you're not in like downtown Toronto, for example, where there's millions of people, like, hey, you can show up at Toronto BJJ and you could potentially be training with like, 10, 15 different black belts in one day. Mm-hmm. What are like some of the challenges with like, running a school in like a smaller town? Like, is it like, like, are there positives to it, negatives to it? Like versus like, hey, I open up a school in Toronto, for example, like there's millions of people that can potentially become my customer versus somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's a much smaller rural community. Like,
no one's going to just walk by. Like, it's not like Toronto where people are just walking by. Oh, there's the place. There's only 8,000 people in Goderich, and there's only 55,000 people in all of Huron County. And Huron County is such a massive space. So the reality is we have to advertise, and social media is like a job. It's literally a job. And all these people that say, social media is how we do it. That's how we do it. And I compete. That's the reality. I compete so that I bring these kids to tournaments, and then they see me lose or win. And then they go, oh, my coach lost, my coach won. Let's do it. He's taking balls. So the reality is we're just doing social media and competing the most, and just social media. That's how you do it. And there's no other way. And all those people that say, oh, if you do jiu-jitsu and you do like 5 posts a day, that pisses people off. That is such a crock of shit. If people don't like jiu-jitsu, they're not going to watch your page, period. So if you put 10,000 posts, like me, if I see a guy that does 10 posts down, I'm reading them all. I'm probably not reading them all, but I'll scroll. So it's social media is how we get it. That's how we keep that membership high. And of course, it's the quality of, it's the dedication of what we do. Like, this is my life. Like, I literally, if when George said I got my brown belt, he's like, this is his life. And this isn't just my life. Like, bro, right now I'm burnt out. I lost 10 pounds from being burnt out. I think I have a fucked up heel, fucked up neck. Like, I literally drag myself to the mats every day, and I want to quit every fucking day. Literally every day I think of quitting. I'm like, oh, but I just keep going. And that's how we keep these fuckers coming, is because they want to see something. They want to see this coach that's just like, man, I do jiu-jitsu like 4 times a week. You know, I'm here. I'm doing this shit. I'm drilling. I'm telling you this. I got a dummy in my house. I drill 6 hours a day, not like crazy, just a couple hundred reps on the dummy. And I train 2 times a day, and I teach 2 times a day. And that's life. And that's the only way. That's why we keep this membership.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, when you look at like coaches that like lead by example, that's like a guy like yourself, right? You're trying to drive that message towards your students, and then what does that create? That creates more followers. That creates the leadership following that you want, right? And especially in a small county, right? Or if it's a county, I apologize. I'm from the city.
Us city slickers here, like
a small county, right? Like that's the thing, is your membership base is your community, right? And so the stronger your community is, it's like these individuals, hey, this is Huron BJJ. This is what we do here. This is why you should come. And then you're going to create that bigger following in the community.
Yeah, it's funny because I started out as a blue belt, and no one's like, what's this? Now I'm a brown belt. Now we have a black belt, Dan Barsky from Ottawa Martial Arts, that we landed 2 years ago. Now we have Joel Paquette as our striking coach, and now it's legit. So I want every person to know, man, like, if I was a white belt, I would have started this shit. I don't even care. Like, really, I would have just started. I didn't care. So that's just how it is. You start small, and then you just keep at it, and you give it 1,000%. And this is what happens.
How important is you? Because, you know, you're mentioning like your team. There's a lot of guys individually, like, you know, you mentioned Nathan, David Mosley, they're going down. Like, there's like the odd person going down to like the US right now to go train. How important is that for, you know, not just like your team that you're on, but like even for yourself, like going forward, you know, to get to the US doing tournaments? There may or may not be tournaments. I cannot confirm or deny if there's going to be tournaments coming up in Canada in the second half of this year. Hopefully there are, and, you know, things hold up well. But how important is that for you to get down there and, you know, kind of take things to the next level, put Huron BJJ on the map?
It's literally my existence. People just don't get it. Like, it's really weird, man. Like, I have to get there. I just told my wife today. My wife is already getting this border stuff figured out today. Like, we have to get there, because that's where the legit competition is. It's just like Schultz, that David Schultz. You think this guy wanted to hang out in the States? This guy had to get to Russia. He had to. Like, I have to get to the States. I have to get there. And then after that, we got to go to Brazil. We just got to do it all. There's just no other way. You can't stay here and compete at local tournaments and think, shit, you're going to be remembered like that. You ain't going to be.
You're the greatest for winning like the, you know, the Waterbury Open or the Hawkesbury Outlaw Mud Show here and there. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, these tournaments are a good grassroots, like, to, you know, get experience, get your feet wet in competing. But, you know, ultimately, like, your goal is like for yourself, you probably want to like, hey, I want to get to World Masters. I want to get to Pans. I want to the big major tournaments where you can not just bring yourself there, but also your students there potentially one day as well.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we want. It's the real deal, man. That's where it's at. It's the States, and these guys are ripping tournaments like every week. We could go there on a weekend, and we could probably rip 2 tournaments. We could probably rip 2 tournaments back to back. We stay there for 2 weeks. Like, I noticed IBJJF like almost sets one up here, so you can kind of like boom, 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 and you can just rip. And that's the whole goal. Like, I don't care. Like, people don't get it, man. Like, I will do anything to get this. I don't care what I have to do to get there. Bleed. We're there. We just have to get there though. There's no way.
So kind of when you look at like the vision for like that team going down, like are you kind of looking for like a small collective, or are you trying to get as many people there as possible?
So like you want as possible. Yeah. I already have our one of our blue belts that's he's 50 years old right now. Rob, I think he's going to be signed up already. So to the World's Masters, it was that December, I think. So is that December?
I want to say it's in November.
Yeah. November, yeah.
It's somewhere in November.
So he's got one, and we already have another girl here that's maybe potentially doing it. So the reality is that's what we want to do. We want to get a good group going, and then I'm just going to start ripping. It's funny. I talked to those Daisy Fresh guys, Heath there, and it's funny. I messaged that guy. He's like, "Come down here anytime, bro. You guys got a spot here." So we want to go rip there. Maybe we'll go check out those guys and get beat by some white belts.
Yeah. No, like that. Those guys have like a pretty kind of like the barn burner program going on right now.
I'm only doing that once. I can only do that once.
It's literally the barn that's burning.
Yeah, you can only do that type of jiu-jitsu. I'm 37 years old this year. I'll go there once, and maybe I'll leave the 20-year-olds there, but I can't do that shit. I'll die.
No, yeah.
Plus you might get you could get COVID. Actually, you might get rabies. There's probably a higher chance of you getting rabies at this point. With the rabies, like there's raccoons like living in like the ceiling. I don't know if you saw the documentary.
Those guys changed my life, man. Those guys are so good. I thought you had to be like super smart and you had to be like super sophisticated to teach jiu-jitsu. Those guys made you realize that no, man. You just
it's like, I mean, look at us. It's like, I don't know, like we could just bang two rocks together. We're figuring it out. We're doing all right.
Like what the thing I find amazing with those guys is just like they have a collective mission, right? The collective mission is obviously to train as hard as they possibly can, do like, and again, teach jiu-jitsu, work as hard as possible with the little amount that they have available to them and make it work, right? And I think even like obviously, like, like Flo's going to give them money. These things are going to give them more money, right? But they're not even going to use that to improve facilities. They're going to do that to improve
we don't do that here.
No, exactly. They're going to use it for like guys have food or like guys have money for tournaments and all that kind of shit. Like they're not going to use any of that cash to fix that place, which I'm like, in that place in the wintertime looks like people will die in there.
What are you doing, Andrew Welch? You're buying a mink coat? What the fuck is wrong with you? You need to buy some Panda Express.
Yeah. Buy a home.
Buy a home. He's got a shack like out in the back. He reminds me of like groundskeeper Willie, like on The Simpsons.
No shame at all. His dog's little thing is even nasty like that. But that's it. That's the reality. That I didn't think that. I thought jiu-jitsu had to be this nice, sophisticated style of teaching and this atmosphere that was clean and
what you mean, like you don't want a gym like AOJ like or anything like that?
I want a clean gym and all that, but I didn't think it was possible that these guys could do that. And it just gives you inspiration. It's basically like the influence of like for example, like Cicero Costa in Brazil. Like they started that gym out of like a church and they threw down puzzle mats. Yeah. Like, and Daisy Fresh they're out of like a broken down laundromat. So I think it goes to show you that you don't need much to have like a legitimate like world-class school. It's not the facility. Like, yes, you want to have a nice clean facility and all that stuff, especially if you're want to attract more like, bougier customers and things like that. But if you're looking for like elite world-class training, a lot of them are just like Unity as well. There's a lot of places that are just like, oh my God, Unity. Jesus Christ. That might be that is like half the size of this garage. Like literally. They're taking showers in there. I love that.
They're taking showers between rounds.
That was the old location. Yeah. I think they're in a new location. Yeah.
Oh man, who's the guy? Who's their head instructor? I always forget his name. He talks like this.
Oh, Murillo Santana. No injuries.
Scared the shit out of me. If that guy said, "Hey you, I'll kill you," I'm gone. I'm out. That guy freaks me out. He's just that voice. Straight killer. He's tying up his tape on his fingers. Okay, guys, Don't be going too hard. And I'm like, man, this guy's just a killer, cold-blooded killer.
And they just, they rented an apartment in Manhattan and just threw down mats, which I don't know if that landlord maybe knows about maybe what's going on in there, but it's like 50 guys like sleeping on the mats. There's one shower. It's like a studio apartment in like Manhattan, and there's like a jiu-jitsu program being run out of there. But hey, like once again, you don't need legitimate world-class facilities to get world-class training. I think it just comes down to who is running the program. But kind of like what I wanted to ask you as well is, being a blue belt coming up, having your own gym, you got to learn from somewhere. Was there anybody who like you like, did you like study stuff on YouTube? Did you, like who are like your influences, like jiu-jitsu wise, and who are like people that you like study now when you're trying to figure stuff out?
Yeah. Right now I do no gi and gi. So I think that's how it's going to be forever with me. I was like, Toronto BJJ loves the gi, and now they're starting to get a little bit more no gi classes. But yeah, I love no gi and gi. So I would say gi. My favorite competitors are the Meow brothers. I'm starting to like the Bolo right now, and I like Keenan too. And of course, I believe the GOAT is Hodger in the gi. I would break it down in 4 different things. Like I would do gi, no gi, and then maybe the GOAT as a personality. But yeah, I'm liking the Meow brothers, and no gi. I'm liking anybody that's doing leg locks right now. Like I love the Danaher Death Squad, of course. And I like Wiltsey's. I'm starting to become a passer right now. So I'm starting to like Wiltsey's knee slide right now. It's so effective, simple. But yeah, those are the guys I'm liking right now. And I like this guy. What's his name? Galveo. What's the little guy?
Mika Galveo.
Oh yeah. My God. That guy's knee bar on who do you get with that crate that it looks like a 50-50 kind of style knee bar, if you've seen that one on the
that was in
it's like
Blues #1,
backstepping around and then coming and hooking,
and you don't even notice it. The guy, you can see the guy, he's like, oh, he doesn't got nothing, and then boom, knee bar. You're like, whoa, I'm really liking that kid, man. What is he, 17 years old?
17.
Yeah, 17 years old, black belt.
And of course, Mikey Muchimechi is the fucking man. That's who the man is right now. Gordon Ryan kind of annoys me. He's just such an attention whore. Mikey Muchimechi is what jiu-jitsu needs. We need that guy for jiu-jitsu, man. He's probably my favorite right now, actually. Yeah, Mikey for sure.
So can you elaborate on that? Like, why do you say that Mikey's that kind of guy for the next one for jiu-jitsu? And like,
we don't need these guys wearing crowns and minks. It's cool.
Mink coats.
It's cool. It's really cool to track the sport, but I think jiu-jitsu's already we're here. We don't need to put on crowns anymore and wear Burger King crowns. It's like, we're here. So let's be professional. And I just love the humbleness of this guy. Like, he's like, I'm just here for friends. And that's me too. Like, I used to want to rip people's heads off and just kill them in competition now. And I ankle lock them. I ankle locked a few guys in London, and next thing you know, they're like, hey, can you teach me how you ankle lock me? I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this. I love that style of friendship. But I do like the killer be killed kind of attitude as well. But I just like him. He's just a nice guy. It's good for jiu-jitsu. We need that, especially when kids are looking up to this sport. And that's my main objective, is kids are watching us, and we need to set an example for all these kids that are watching. And this is a lot of negative stuff with Gordon Ryan and Conor McGregor. And that's why I kind of like Mike. He's just a good kid.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing. I get why Gordon Ryan does that, because he's getting a lot of attention for himself. At the end of the day, the more people and eyeballs on him, the more money he can potentially make, competing, DVDs, all that. But like, I'm kind of torn away where, like you mentioned, Mikey's kind of like on the other end of that spectrum where, like, very humble. He tries to set a good example, especially for younger kids, coming up in the ranks. And he kind of even said that after his last match, and he had a little outburst after. But people are emotional. Like, everyone's emotional when they compete. Like, I my last time competing, I slammed the mats as I was getting up after I won. And, you know, like I haven't competed in 4 years. So I was like, fuck, I was pumped. Like, I don't know what to say. So like, you know, Mikey on the other end was a little pumped doing his thing there. But like, what do you kind of see as like going forward for the sport? Like what influences that you want to have? Like, yeah, you have a kids program. Like, what are some of the things that you're trying to, you know, instill in the kids that you're currently teaching?
Just being just that professionalism kind of. When I first started, I wasn't as professional because I came from the hard streets of Windsor. So it's like you got to kind of implement that and know none of that. Like my whole goal is when I first started this, it was like I just wanted to be noticed because I was a blue belt, right? So you have to do all these extra things because you have to get noticed because you're only a blue belt. Now I'm a brown belt and I don't give a shit what anybody does because I have a goal. So I want these kids to know that nothing matters. Literally nothing matters. All I want these kids to do is show up, give their all, lose 1,000 times and get up. And that's all I want them to do. And know that this Conor McGregor, I like Conor McGregor, but this negative lifestyle, I want them to be positive. Like I have friends that try to talk about partying on podcasts and pot and all this. I'm like, dude, don't talk to me about that shit. Cause I could have a 13-year-old, one of my gray and white belts or a yellow belt, listen to this podcast and they're like, ooh, like Joe Rogan, love the guy, but man, why are you talking about steroids all the time and fucking all this weird shit? Like, it's just so many people watch you, even if you're just a little Jim and Goddard. So my whole goal is just to make sure these kids aren't falling down the same path kind of I went down. That's the number one goal.
Mm-hmm. You may not like one of our sponsors then, Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at Aaron.
64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario.
So it's over for those who are legal age, over the age of 19, all your CBD and THC needs, all the flour that you could use, you know, and, you know, all the things that products, right, Aaron, that you can consume potentially. But, you know, legal age, 19 and up. They have a great crew there. Mention our podcast, you get 10% off.
Yeah, but that's the only drugs we talk about. That's it.
Yeah. And kids, if you're listening to this, don't smoke crack.
Yes, it's bad for you. You'll lose your house.
You'll lose a whole lot of it. Lose your teeth,
you lose your house, you lose everything.
You're getting somebody else's TV.
Doesn't that also like kind of give you, I'm not saying you just smoke crack in Windsor, but like, does it give you like credibility where you're like, okay, kids, listen, like I've seen that path. You even mentioned it before. You're like, I had a rough upbringing. I've seen this path. Going down a certain path, it could be very destructive for you. Like, is that something like you talk about with kids, teenagers, youth?
All the time. Literally, people don't get it. So we always are like, I like to put, they don't have, you notice they don't say no to drugs anymore. I think that's hilarious. Like, I thought that was a good campaign. Like, why not? Like, I always tell these kids, man, don't do drugs, don't be stupid, and don't do jiu-jitsu unless you have to. It's pretty much it. And I try to instill that, just that positive lifestyle, because I've seen it all. All these kids, they think like, ooh, I'm just going to drink some proper 12. Yeah, you're going to be drinking that proper 12. You're going to be going to the club. Next thing you know, you're at the club. And now next thing you know, it's a lifestyle. Next thing you know, you're drinking like people do jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? And it's just that fast. And all these people that say, oh, it won't be me, it will be you. So that's pretty much.
You hear that, Aaron? You got to put down the proper 12.
Down the proper.
I can't even drink that shit. But honestly, like hard liquor, I can't even do it. Like I have my beer, like once in a while I have a beer and that's it. And I'm good. Like hard liquor, I can't even do that anymore.
Yeah, I crossed that age.
I'm a positive influence on children. I do not drink, for the record. No alcohol.
Nothing wrong with it. It's just not for me. And I believe that kids, if they want to get to that next level, it shouldn't be for you either. Like if you want to be an athlete, it's probably not the best idea.
No, definitely not.
And that's the thing, right? Like you have to look at it like, okay, what does somebody want to do? If you want to be a competitive athlete, you can't have that type of lifestyle. That's not how it works. Nobody ever sees all the grinding hours and behind everything. They always see all the bullshit that, okay, whatever, the Instagram is cool, right? But in order to be a professional athlete, That's what they have to do. They have to eat right. You got to train right. You got to heal properly. You got to do all these other things. And that's what like coaches like yourself have to keep instilling in their competitors to make sure that they stay on that path, right? And then that's their choice eventually down the road. They're going to have to make that their own decision, but that's the reality. They have to live that lifestyle.
Exactly.
That's how I pretty much like cut out alcohol and partying. So it was like, okay, so I had a goal as a young youth. I'm like, I want to do jiu-jitsu. I want to get really good at this. Me going out and partying till the middle of the night and coming back hammered, is this gonna help with my goals, or is this gonna hinder my goals? And I think it's a pretty simple answer. I think it's gonna interfere with that, especially if you have any sort of athletic goals that you want to hit. It's going to be very difficult to do if you're coming back, in the middle of the night hammered, and then you're hungover the next day, and then you go to train, and it's probably not going to go in your favor.
No, it's just that was with me. I'm an asshole on that shit. I'm a jerk, and it just the hangover is like 4 days, 5 days. Like I think I quit when I was 4 years ago now, and just the hangover is like 4 or 5 days. Like, nah, it ain't worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
So me and Shaun are actually getting together before this podcast, and this is actually an AA meeting, Aaron. So this is us just meeting. So we wanted to bring this up. Aaron, your drinking has been affecting this podcast.
My one beer every fucking week.
Your proper 12, which you've turned into proper 12 bottles a week.
Michael, you have some fucking issues, okay? And you keep
what do you mean I have issues?
You keep talking like this, and people are gonna start to fucking question a lot of things. And this is why I have to edit this shit out all the time.
Don't edit this out.
I'm editing it out.
You're editing this out. So I struck a nerve there. So somebody might actually have a problem. I'm just saying. The first step is.
Are you a ref?
I am a ref.
Mike is actually a shitty referee.
You've reffed me a couple of times, haven't you?
I probably gave you a wrong decision too, because he's a shitty ref.
Why are you so mad, Aaron? Why don't you go have some proper 12 and calm down?
And are you black belt too?
I am now. Yes.
He just got his black belt.
You both are. You both are.
Mike's been sandbagging for a while, so he's supposed to have his black belt, but he's gonna get it.
So what gym are you guys from, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm training out at Evo in Mississauga, and you're at Gracie Woodbridge.
I am out of Gracie Woodbridge. I train with Tony Isaacs and Dan Maroney.
Nice.
Shout out to them. And Aaron's training at Evo as he's Evolution BJJ with one of his head instructors, Toma, who was one of our first guests I think we've had on here.
Yeah, long time.
The other guest that you had, the referee, what's his name? He's talking about something to do with he has an internet job. I just looked at it. What's his name? I can't remember.
Somebody that I refed?
No, you just had him on the podcast. He was a ref.
Was it Matt?
Oh, Jeremy.
Jeremy, yeah, he's another ref as well. Yeah, I've trained with him like for years. Like
that guy is the best. I always call him the best ref in the game. He's so legit. Like the one time he was coaching the IBJJF Toronto, and there was 2 blue belts competing, and they're competing, and there's yellow belts waiting in the bullpen, and he hears the one chirping to the other, and he's coaching. He's refereeing the match, and he looks at them. He goes, "Hey, buddy, you say that one more time, and you're DQ'd." And I'm like, "This guy is the shit. That's what you want. Like, if you're gonna sit there and run your gate in the bullpen, he's gonna DQ you." Like, I like that guy. He's good stuff.
Nobody messes with Jer Bear. Nobody.
He's so legit. Like, I remember when I won. I won my first purple belt tournament. I got lucky because the guy I don't even know how I won it. But
I just blacked out, and then I had my hand raised.
I got lucky, but I remember the guy's gi was bleeding. Like he was bleeding, and what's that guy's name again? The ref?
Jeremy.
Yeah.
He
had blood, and he goes, "Hey, buddy, stop the match right now." And he goes, you got blood on your gi. So he goes, take that gi off right now. He's like, I don't have a gi. He's like, well, you're going to get DQ'd, bud. And then his buddy, is that true? Like you can't have the blood on the gi?
Well, if you're actively like bleeding everywhere, like
it's just a little, it was just like blood on his gi. It was like a nice little chunk, but it was there. He's like, you got to get that out of here.
Like it's not sanitary because like you don't know where people have been. Like,
exactly. It's legit.
COVID, HIV, there's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen.
That though. I felt safe. I'm like, thank you. Get that gi off and get a new gi on.
Well, like after everything that's happened a year and a half, would you want somebody bleeding all over you?
I didn't want people sneezing anymore.
Like, whoa, get away from me.
Yeah, I think for your own sake, so like when you start competing again in Ontario, and if it was Michael and Jeremy reffing the same event, make sure you go to Jeremy and don't go to Michael. Make sure to be like, and if for whatever reason Michael's your ref, be like, hey, I want to protest right here. This is a protest right now because, and you could say any reason, and I'll make sure that I speak with Tony ahead of the OJA, and I'll make sure we switch it.
So angry.
So don't worry.
I'll take the less sandbagging ref, eh?
The less sandbagging.
Exactly.
I may be the sandbaggingest ref in the history of sandbagging in Ontario.
Do you compete in the U.S., Mike?
I have competed a few times, so I've done
it, bro. What did you do at brown belt? You've done really well, eh?
I haven't done anything at brown belt
because I got purple belt. That's what I'm saying.
It was a lot of it was at purple, and then I competed at purple, got my brown belt. I was gonna start doing some U.S. competitions and like preparing for Masters Worlds, and then I completely like tore my knee in half.
Yeah.
So that set me back a bit, and then 2020 was like, okay, I have a plan. I'm going to do this tournament, this. And then, we saw what happened in 2020. Like pretty much everything got shut down, unfortunately. But I'm looking to, try to hit the old trail of competing. It would be good to see you in the US as well, representing. Kind of like just, closing up the podcast today. Like what are your future plans? You mentioned the US a lot. You want to go down there and train. Is there any like specific goals you want to hit there, or is there anything specific with like the gym? Like what's next for you in the future, Shaun?
So right now we are trying to get to the US. We're trying to implement a lot of different programs. Like right now, I know if there's three things that a lot of people better do in jiu-jitsu right now, or you're going to be left behind. Wrestling, leg locks, lapel. You like there's three right there that I'm good. I'm somewhat good at. So our whole goal right now is to get a wrestling coach in the next month or two. I want to have wrestling once a week because all these people that say, "Oh, I don't like wrestling." Well, if you like guard, then you must like wrestling, you dumbass. Everything starts with a grip, right? You know that, you dummy. So we want to get wrestling. Of course, we're going to have leg locks, but the reality is we want to get our gym going 7 days a week, eventually breaking it down in white belt classes to an advanced and just ripping all day long and kind of attracting a lot of people to our area to come train because we are in the middle. We're kind of in the middle of London and we're in the middle of Toronto, and we kind of can do something really good if we can attract a lot of those competitors and maybe get them to come train at our gym.
And like you also said about lapel, why do you feel lapel is a big thing that you guys need to work on now?
Lapel with the gi? I just started working lapels like, I don't even know, like 2 months ago. I did that. Did you watch that Fix My Game with Keenan?
Yeah.
Oh, that pass I'm telling you, it works. Okay, that pass, what does he call it? Platinum guard?
Platinum Worm 101.
Dude, I'm telling anybody that weird pass works so good, and I just kept messing with it. And then I ordered what's that guy? Estima. What's his guard called? He called it. I can't even remember. It's just.
Was it Victor Estima or Braulio? Braulio's done a lot of like lapel stuff. Maybe not necessarily like worm guard, but he's done a lot of like lapel stuff. Like
he said it's the initial guard that started every lapel guard. I can't remember what it's called. But if you don't get these, like if you don't get wrestling down, if you don't get leg locks down, if you don't get this lapel guard down, you're gonna be left in the mud, like straight up. Like there's no other way. You cannot be a guard player and you cannot just be a passer these days. You got to be both. So that's what we're trying to do. We want to get some wrestling in there. We got Dan from Ottawa. He's not under us, of course. He's got his own thing, but he still trains with us. So we're going to try to get Dan on the schedule and just try to give that top-notch teaching from such a small place. That's the whole goal.
Nice. Awesome. Well, you know what? Like, I want to thank you very much for coming on the podcast tonight. It's been a pleasure. It's been awesome kind of hearing the aspects of Huron BJJ, but also kind of like your story. Obviously, there's kind of the next steps that you guys got planned. So I'm excited to kind of see what happens, especially in the future. Is there anybody you want to thank or like any sponsorships you want to reach out to before we close her up?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Hyperfly, Josh there at Toronto BJJ, George, and then my other sponsors, Sign Guys, and Big Bear. We got a few sponsors out there. And my wife, she's the people look at here on BJJ and they always see me on camera. All I do is teach. It's literally all I do. My wife does the other part, and it's a lot more than what I do. I love what you guys are doing though, man. Love it.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Awesome. It's been a pleasure. And we'll be in touch soon. We'll get it going.
Don't DQ me for reaping.
Aaron.